All right, hey, what's up, y'all? So recently did a talk on, again, nutritional vitality. We have these three components, and this is really just a way to perceive and assess foods. I feel like since our very beginnings, about 10 years ago, like we've been preaching real food and eating real food in a way that maximizes nutrients and minimizes toxins and enhances metabolic efficiency, but we've never really put it into this conceptual framework until now. And it's been really useful. So today we talked about minimizing toxins and the problem with toxins. So I just want to give you a little bit of some info on what we learned together. So toxins, by definition, by the way, a more accurate term might be toxicants, but either, toxins or toxicants, whatever. By definition, if it's a toxin, we have deemed it as something that's going to be damaging to cells and tissues and organ systems. And that damage, by the way, has to be repaired, and that repair process requires nutrients. So toxins damage the body and also deplete the body of nutrients because of that repair process. Toxins also inhibit the body's ability to utilize nutrients and assimilate them properly. And then also toxins are going to deplete the body of nutrients because to excrete a toxin out of the body, we usually have to bind it to a nutrient through the detox pathways. So big picture view of this thing is that the reason that we want to avoid toxins is because they damage the body and they deplete the body of nutrients. And although there's a lot of different sources of toxins out there, things that most people are probably really familiar with, like pollution and pesticides and herbicides, when we talk about real food sources of toxins, there's some main things that we find in the American diet. And that is refined cereal grains, industrial seed oils, high amounts of sugar from inappropriate sources, and then also a lot of processed soy. And then you mix in with that like things like pesticides and herbicides and heavy metals and industrial pollutants and chemicals and preservatives and dyes, and you just have this whole recipe for disaster inside the body. Because what are we really trying to do when we eat real food? We're trying to facilitate this. We're trying to build this body. And this body requires nutrients, and toxins are the opposite of nutrients because they damage the body and they deplete the body of nutrients or inhibit nutrients in the body. All right, so we have what we call our foods to avoid, which is the reason that we consider them foods to avoid is because of their toxicity. And we feel like it's a really solid list. And then we also came up with a list of what we call acceptable ingredients. Ingredients that are acceptable, but you have to really pay attention because you might have some digestive issues with them. Like for instance, some of the sugar alcohols, we're fine with sugar alcohols like xylitol and erythritol, but they give me gas, like they give me massive digestive issues, so those are things we just need to be aware of. I have a couple of friends that are really sensitive to carrageenan that we usually find in heavy cream. But anyway, we have a list of acceptable ingredients, suspect ingredients, and then things that we absolutely want to avoid, things like GMOs and grains, especially the gluten-containing grains, and artificial sweeteners, and all our toxic fats and oils. So another concept that we talked about is this idea of trying to be a real foodie. And part of being a real foodie means that you are transitioning from an inappropriate way of eating, a toxic way of eating, and maybe you're oblivious to it, so it's not your fault, right? I thought I was doing the right thing years ago when I had my worst health issues. And so part of being a real foodie is moving from doing the wrong thing to choosing things made with the right ingredients. This is what we call approved items. We call them SHT approved. And that means that they are usually things that we would avoid because they seem to be like processed food, but now they're made with the right ingredients. So there are potato chips that are cooked in coconut oil, and dipping chips cooked in avocado oil, and ice creams made with the right ingredients, and gluten-free pizzas made with the right ingredients. But we also understand that those things probably aren't serving us over the long term because they are not contributing to nutritional sufficiency. They are minimal in toxins compared to the processed foods versions of those things, but they're also probably not enhancing metabolic efficiency, so we probably want to stay away from those things as much as possible. All right, so some big takeaways from our little talk around minimizing toxins is, first of all, just understanding the reason we call things toxins is because they damage the body, and they deplete the body of nutrients. So they are in the opposite direction of trying to facilitate this amazing body, right? The reason that we eat real food is to do this. Toxins are in the opposite direction of doing this. Also, just understanding that being a real foodie means, especially initially, transitioning from all these things made with toxic ingredients to something made with better ingredients, right? Because this is going to be less toxic. It might not be ideal over the long term. Eating a lot of Siete chips and Strauss's ice creams and all these different candies and cookies and things made with the right ingredients may be less toxic, but it's probably not serving our long-term goals. But at a minimum, as a real foodie, we want to make sure we're always choosing things made with the right ingredients. And then also just understanding that the reason we want to improve food quality, if I want to make a choice from conventional moving up towards local or organic or pasture raised or something along those lines, the reason that improving quality is good is because theoretically it improves the nutritional value and it minimizes the toxic load. All right. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say on that. I think it was a really good kind of recap summary of what we covered in our little course.